I grew up, most of my time was in Oyster Bay, which is like a really small town. It could be anywhere in the country. It's 35 miles from New York City, but you'd never know it. It's a hamlet. It's a beautiful little village. And then when I was in midway through high school, we moved to um, not that, just a few towns away, Huntington, but the vibe was completely different. This was next to a 5-lane highway and strip malls and an enormous school with like 1,200 kids versus my 300 of my earlier school. So it was kind of like a clash of worlds. And some of that childhood was spent growing up next to an not an oil refinery, but containment tanks on the water, where they'd bring in the big tankers and they'd fill these enormous, funny, they were pastel colored tanks with oil. And I guess I remember climbing up the tanks at night with friends, and we there was a railroad there too, which also smelled like tar all the time because they used tar on the railroad ties. And we used to steal the flares from the railroad and climb up these spiral towers to the top of these enormous oil and gas tanks, light the flares, probably not the brightest, but then we throw them off into the bay and we watch them go splash, and then there'd be this glow of like otherworldly pink in the water for a while before it died.
Oh my God.
So I don't know, something about that. Oh, that oil, the roads. There's so much pavement on Long Island, and I always saw it, even as a kid. I kind of lamented like the loss of nature to paving and um, to oil, to gas, to fossil fuel, to the whole country becoming a network of roads and parking lots. It always just seemed to me very visually and sort of spiritually striking. So tar for me has a lot of those associations with it, but it's a liquid form, it's oil based, and it is mixable with uh, somewhat mixable with the colors. The only difficulty is it's very toxic. You have to wear a mask. I have to have a lot of ventilation. I have my newer studio here has these French doors which are open up to a parking lot, so I can just go right out there and work, which is great. Um, it like I said, it dries. I have to add some chemical dryers to it because otherwise it wouldn't fully dry. So I kind of I speed it up and I cure it just the way you would cure oil paint. I use chemicals that speed up drying and stabilize the tar, and then it doesn't even have that odor anymore. But it reeks when you're using it. It's sometimes I can smell it, taste it like right through the mask. I'm like, this isn't good. Though for me anyway, that it's part of the process. You know that it is a toxic material, and it's a challenge to something about it. Like I want to make something beautiful out of it, but that still has one foot in the dark. You know what I mean? I think there's a beauty that can be a dark beauty or a terrible beauty. A beauty that doesn't sugarcoat reality, that's willing to look into the void, but still find beauty there. And I don't know if that's hope or what that is, but it's I don't know. It's an aesthetic category that I don't think we've talked about all that much in the history of art. There's the sublime, but this is different because this isn't necessarily about the awe before nature the way sublime was, and this is more like tragedy. It's like a tragic beauty. It's like a melancholy, but a toxicity. There's this great quote there's this radical theologian named Matthew Fox, and one of his books called Creativity, he talks about what he calls the via negativa, which is a category of art and making that is about looking at the dark side. And sort of he talks about that seeds need to mature within dark earth. It's before they can come to the light. There has to be this entombment almost like. And he mentions this I think he's quoting someone else, but the quote I remember from his book is that art recycles a culture's toxins, which I thought was very interesting, that could be one thing that art does. And literally, like, through using the materials to create something beautiful, and to create something that we want to look at, as opposed to things we don't want to look at, things that we're too scared or too sad to face. So I see this I see a place for art in terms of climate change, to come at it through this way.